Yeah, best you can do is just projecting based on what you know today, and that's it. Because a lot of things will change, but you don't know which way it'll change. It could go up, it could go down. So it's not about like, oh, I might be in a higher tax bracket, because you don't really know. A lot of it is like, I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to slam away whatever I can convert this year. And now I won't have to worry about paying taxes on that. If it's higher or lower, I don't have to worry about it at all.
Welcome to the Fiscal Foxhole, the podcast proving you don't need a degree in finance, just some grit, a game plan, and maybe a sense of humor. Your hosts are retired Army veteran Rob Moore and retired Marine veteran Omen Quelvog. Together, they'll help you dodge financial landmines, call in the air support on your savings, and laugh at the ridiculous money mistakes we've all made. If you can survive mandatory fund days, you can survive personal finance. Welcome to the Foxhole.
Welcome to the Foxhole. My name is Omen Quelvog. I am happy to join you here. Of course, I'm joined by my aide duty, Rob Moore.
Happy birthday, Omen, Marine, retired Marine. We just passed that 2 days ago as we record here, but can pass up the opportunity when I see you face to face, say happy birthday here in the Foxhole.
Thanks, man. I don't even feel a day over 249.
It's always nice in the Marines. You know, I forget the birthdays of pretty much every branch, but
you won't
the
forget,
Marines,
you will not forget the Marine Corps birthday.
Marines are so helpful every year. All my friends and
all your social media posts, all your LinkedIn,
yeah,
every bar you ever walk into.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
We're definitely telling you it's the Marine Corps birthday.
It amuses me to know it. I love it so much, but I love all the Marines. So happy birthday to all the Marines listening. Happy 250th. This is a big one.
Well, hey, today we've got a big show slam-packed with several things, but I did want to point out one thing. We have our first listener question. We got it.
Really?
And it was totally appropriate.
Oh, too bad. Oh, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. I thought this was going to be a complaint about my recent hijinks in the recent episodes, but
those just went straight to the junk mail. So, but so just expect on our next episode, we're going to address this listener question. It was a good one. I think it's a very common question that we get. And so I'm looking forward to that. But as we get into our episode, you mentioned that we're only 2 days away from the Marine Corps birthday. We are a day away from Veterans Day when we record this. And when we release this will be the day before Thanksgiving.
Gobble, gobble.
What are your plans for Thanksgiving?
We're having a nice, just easy with the family here. Some families traveling in for the Christmas holiday. So for Thanksgiving, it's just us, the family, and the dog, and running around outside. We do a little friends turkey bowl kind of touch football game, flag football game at a local elementary school, which is a lot of fun during the day. But other than that, we're just relaxing, enjoying the holiday. What about y'all?
Sounds also like you might be taking a trip to the emergency room.
No, this is the best part is that this is versus the kids, like dads versus the kids. It's pretty great. It's less fun now that they're like 14, 15, 16 years old. It used to be a lot of fun when they were like 10, 11, like stiff arming your kids. It's so satisfying. I can't recommend it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
One day they will stiff arm you back.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in
yeah,
urgent care.
It's happening. What about y'all? What do you, how are you spending the holiday?
Well, so we did talk about our turkey smoking last episode on our off duty, but this one, let's see, we are getting to meet the parents of our son's girlfriend for the first time.
This smells like an off duty thing. We need to dive into this later.
Probably. So it's been over 2 years since they've been dating. So yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Well, good luck. Expect more gray hairs from you in the next episode, if that's possible.
Is that possible? I don't think it's possible. I did notice I have a gray hair in an eyebrow now. I don't know how that happens.
Congratulations.
Anyway, appreciate it. Hey, man. So let's get into this episode before we completely hurt ourselves.
Okay.
Today, we are going to wrap up our last episode on the tax extravaganza, talking about Roth conversions today. This is one of my favorite topics. I love Roth conversions.
Yeah, it's a good. I'm excited to get into this. We've got a juicy headline too, and then Roth conversions is kind of meaty itself. So the last episode we went a little long. I think we went along in the first one. We tried to hit about an hour, but it sounds like we're going to do it again. But this is really interesting. Roth conversions are something that it's an idea out there that people hear. but I don't think people really understand. It's not that complicated. And it's actually pretty, I think, accessible for most folks. So hang on, have a listen all the way through and see if this might apply to you.
And of course, you've got your tax facts, because I know that's actually why everybody is tuning in today is for the tax facts. Hopefully we've kept it at least PG-13 today.
We're G today, unfortunately. Chesty Love is back at work. Geez. She will not be joining us today for the tax facts.
Quickly, headlines. Let's go. All right,
go.
Today's headline is out of Yahoo Finance from Claire Boston. Headline itself, the math behind Trump's 50-year mortgage gambit. Lower payments now, but almost double the long-term costs. I don't think anybody's talking about this, Rob.
This is brand new information. I haven't heard a word. And by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, I'm sure this is going to be buried and gone. No one's going to be talking about this. Yeah.
Oh, my word. Okay, let's dig into this anyway.
Yeah, I've seen this everywhere. Yeah. Everyone's talking about it. But I think we've got some interesting twists that I have not seen. So, yeah, hang in there. I know if you're already familiar with this, listen in, because we got some good stuff for you.
Yeah, and there's some inconsistencies even in this particular article we'll point out here in just a second. So, all right, let's get into this. President Trump has floated 50-year mortgages as a way of improving housing affordability and bringing new life back to the deeply stuck market, says Claire Boston. This is an actual problem, right? I mean, my own son is living with us as a way to afford the school he's going to at the moment. Like, the plan is for him to move out eventually at one point. But I do know that on his mind, one of the things that he is struggling with is, how am I ever going to afford a house?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. The bare facts on this is that the current average housing is currently about 6 times average annual income. It used to be 2 to 3 earlier last century, and it slowly crept up. Before the bubble, it was like 7 or 8 times. Now we're back up to 6. So yeah, it's expensive compared to what people are getting paid, just like everything else, but wages are not keeping up. So it's getting harder to purchase homes.
So let's talk about the appeal of a 50-year mortgage. The appeal, this is what Claire writes, the appeal of a 50-year mortgage is simple. Home prices are near all-time highs, leaving many aspiring buyers priced out of the market. A longer payback period would lower monthly payments and give more people a foothold in the market. Man, Rob, where have you heard this before? The fact that we can lengthen out a loan period and lower a loan payment. I mean, just think about this with your car, right? Like, you can get a car for a 2-year, a 3-year, or a 6-year, or a 7-year loan, and you just stretch this thing out and you're paying on it forever. Now we're going to do this with a home.
Mm-hmm. The thing that's frustrating about this is we're talking about 2 different parts of a lever of the same product, of a mortgage. Yes, home prices are high, and that's what they're trying to make more affordable with 50-year mortgages. They're trying to lower the monthly payment, which is the day-to-day cost that people experience. Because when you go to purchase a home, you're not looking at the total cost. I mean, you are, or maybe the lifetime cost. It really boils down to that monthly payment for most people. So what the 15 to 30-year difference does, it does that. So we're trying to say, well, let's just go to 50 and lower the payment even more and get people into more homes. Well, guess what? They're just going to apply for the same monthly payment. So if the monthly payments are that much cheaper, guess what? Home prices are going to shoot right up to accommodate for that extra monthly income that people are willing to pay.
We talked about this on an episode. I can't remember which episode we talked about this, but we actually did talk about this. When you walk into a car dealer and the first thing they approach you with is, how much can you afford per month?
Yeah.
Like, that's not the question. And I think that we're attacking the wrong problem here. Mm-hmm. We're trying to make this affordable for people by lowering a payment price. Like, that is the wrong attack into this problem. We should be looking at housing prices. We should also be looking at incomes as well, right, to be able to afford these things. So, sorry, we're probably getting a little both heated on this one. But let's move on.
Okay.
So the extended time horizon also has major downsides. Claire writes, homeowners will build equity much more slowly and could ultimately end up on the hook for almost double the interest they'd pay compared to a standard 30-year mortgage. Now, Rob, I know that you've done some math, some deeper math on this.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through this just a little bit?
Yeah, buckle in. If you like numbers, you're going to love this. But if you don't, if you're a normal person, just hang on. We do have to talk about the numbers because it highlights something really important. Before I talk about that, the reason why I broke this down is because at some point the payment can only get so low because there is the interest cost of financing a mortgage. And initially that mortgage part of your payment is a lot. It's like, 80%, 90% of your first payment's going towards interest. Well, that interest payment will remain steady, is locked into the interest rate and the principal. So if you start to stretch out the loan, the payment can compress only so much, right? Let's look at the difference between the 15 and 30 year mortgage, because that's the most common, people are trading off the value of 15 or 30 year mortgage. So currently 15 year mortgages are 5.42%, 30 year mortgages are 6.16%. That's normal because if you're getting a longer payoff period, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. Now, I won't get into the totals, but you are going to pay a lot more in interest with a 30-year mortgage, more than twice as much in interest alone over the life of the loan. But that's okay because you're saving a lot month to month. That's the goal. That's the appeal of the 30-year mortgage is you're saving money month to month on payments. The difference in those 15 and 30-year payments is $1,014 a month. So that's money in your pocket. You can save, you can invest, you can spend, whatever you care to do. So for when people are choosing between the 15 and the 30, that ends up being the biggest decision point is can we float an additional $1,014 to get into the 15-year mortgage and the lower interest rate, or do we elect to save that money and spend it on ourselves? Now, let's stretch this out to the 50-year mortgage. So what I did, because we don't know what the interest rate's going to be, so I took the difference between the 15 and the 30 and just added it onto the 30. So I estimated a 50-year mortgage currently at 6.9%. Now, just to point out, you're doubling the interest again. So go back, the total interest paid on a 15 years, $230,000. For a 30 years, almost $600,000. The interest alone on a 50-year mortgage at 6.9% is $1.28 million. This is for a $500,000. Sorry, I should back up and just say this at the beginning. This is for a $500,000 mortgage, okay? Now we know that's a lot of people are saying this already. They're like, hey, you're going to pay a ton over 50 years. They're already saying that. The argument is out there. But what is going kind of unnoticed and what my math reveals here is your payment can only get so low. So with the payment on a 30-year at 6.16 is $3,049. The payment on a 50-year 6.9% is $2,970. Omen, that's a difference of $80. We're saving $80 a month and paying an additional $680,000 in interest to save $80 a month. Because this is what happens with the 30-year, the first payment going to a mix of interest and principal. The amount going to principal in the 30-year and the first payment is $482. The amount going to principal in the first payment of the 50-year loan is $95.
That'd be so depressing. That is so depressing.
So
watching your principal go down by $95 a month.
Oh my God. I mean, and you're not even, and this is the thing, you're not even saving that much. You're only saving, you're only saving $80 a month to do this. It does not solve the problem. Now, this actually kind of goes against my earlier argument that home prices will increase because the payment is almost identical. So it might not. I don't know. But in other words, it's not solving either of these problems.
Yeah. If the payment actually truly does decrease in some form or fashion, sure, the home prices are going to shoot straight up. I think that what you've identified here, though, is one of the false assumptions in this article, actually. So I didn't read this earlier, but I will right now, saying that the assumption was that the interest rate would remain the same between a 30 and a 50-year mortgage. So all the math that they did in this article, was based off an interest rate that remained the same between a 30 and a 50-year, which you and I both know that is not going to be the case.
Who's going to finance that?
Nobody. No. Nobody will finance that. It's going to be a higher interest rate.
It has to be.
And so the numbers in the payments that they have in this article look great. Your payment would be really low. And in that case, then yes, the home prices would actually go up to meet the demand. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that that's the case, Rob. I think that your math here is sound. And actually yeah, you have to account for the extra interest that it's going to be charged for a longer period of time.
Someone has to pay that interest. Someone does. Maybe the government's going to subsidize it. We all know what government subsidies have done for tuition costs and other things that they like to help out and pay for. So that's just going to contribute again to the housing market increasing in value. I'll say this: the only thing that's going to drop home prices, I mean, in my opinion, is incentivizing supply growth. Is like getting more homes built. I mean, it's period. Like that's just basic economics.
That and I guess increased pay, but that not at the hands of the government, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, let's wrap up that story. And I don't think I have anything else to add. Do you?
No, I don't. I mean, there's other stuff we can talk about, but really, I think we have got a lot to get into. There's some other points we have here, but I think I've sufficiently ranted enough about 50-year mortgages that I think we can leave that.
You know what?
Yeah.
There is one thing we should probably mention. 30 years aligns really nicely with your career. Like when you, get your career 20, 30 years old and you take on a 30-year mortgage, and let's just say you stay in the same home, but you take on a 30-year mortgage. By the time you're done with your career at 60, 65, hopefully you've got a paid off home somewhere. And now that extra cash flow fits nicely into your retirement plans. You take on a 50-year mortgage, and now all of a sudden you're stretching out into your 70s and 80s before you're done paying for you might actually pass away before
putting the Morton mortgage.
Yeah. I mean, and we didn't even talk about this. We usually buy term policies that would pay off the house. Can you buy a term policy that will last you, an affordable one anyway, that will last you into your 80s to pay off the house?
Yeah, they're called permanent life insurance.
I know. Which would actually soak up any kind of savings, monthly savings that you had.
Yeah, bleep that out.
Oh.
All right. Let's get into this.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Roth conversions. So this is the exciting part of our tax extravaganza that we're getting into. Again, we want to make this accessible. We don't think they're all too difficult. But Rob, I thought we'd first back up just a little bit and talk about the difference between Roth and tax deferred. First, what is Roth and what is tax deferred?
Yeah, we're not going to spend too much time on this. So if you're unsure about it, Google it, look it up, try to do some reading. But this would be for someone who probably already understands what a Roth and tax deferred, the difference are. But if you can grasp it quickly, basically Roth IRA is you're putting money in after taxes. You've already paid taxes on it and it grows tax free. The benefit is when you retire and you take it at the end of your life, you're getting everything out of it tax free. You're getting your contributions back, all the growth, you're getting it tax free because the idea is you already paid taxes on the contributions. Traditional IRAs, 401ks, et cetera. We're talking about IRAs mostly here, but it works the other way where you get the tax break up front. Everything grows tax deferred. And then everything you take out is taxed. So taxed as income. So one, you're paying taxes going in the Roth. The other one, you're paying taxes going out.
And I do think that there are benefits to talk about, particularly with Roth accounts that like the IRS is never going to come knocking again. They don't require minimum distributions when you turn a certain age like they would with a tax deferred account. And this is also a great tool to leave to your loved ones as well. Even under the 10-year rule of distribution, like your loved ones could just leave it in the Roth account the entire time and take an entire distribution at the end and not worry about taxes. So Roth accounts definitely have their benefits. I do like them, but they're not the end all be all answer. So let's get into the next common question that you and I probably get from most people is, when do I use a Roth? When do I use a tax deferred account? Like what is kind of that threshold there? Let me say first that if you're saving into either one of them, yes, keep doing that. Like the things that we're going to talk through with Roth conversions is really optimizing your investments for taxes. But the fact that you're saving into a Roth or tax deferred account at any given time, yes, keep doing that.
Amen.
But to answer the question about which do I use, Roth or tax deferred, we need to know your effective tax rate. And the effective tax rate is the average tax rate that you're actually paying. So if we've talked through this before, your marginal tax brackets of 12, 22, 24, whatever, we're in a progressive system. So it's only the dollars that are in that actual bracket that get taxed at that tax rate. So ultimately, your average tax rate is going to be lower, always going to be lower than your marginal tax rate. So there are some times in your career over your lifetime that are markers, historical markers. We can't tell what the future is. But if you've ever, Rob, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I know I have gone into Social Security, downloaded my statement, and took a trip down memory lane about when my first job was working as I washed dishes in a kitchen, and my paycheck was like $900 a month, maybe. Yeah. And then when I was a PFC, I think I got a bump to
$800
like $1,200 a month or something. Yeah, probably $800 a month, something like that. Yeah. So there's these markers where, okay, I know I'm in a low income here, so this would be a great time to put into Roth. But when I'm towards the end of my career and I'm making, maybe, hopefully, a lot more money, but I'm also being taxed a lot more, that might be a good time to put into tax deferred. And then I stop working. I go into this retirement. I'm 65 and I stop working. And now all of a sudden I don't have an income. And so here's a great time to maybe take advantage of a low tax time. But then I start claiming Social Security and I have required minimum distributions. And now my taxes go back up again. So there's these markers in your lifetime where you can kind of see where your average tax rate would be low and where your average tax rates would be high. That would help us make those decisions as to when do I contribute to Roth or tax deferred, or when do I make these conversions?
Going back to your point before about it's always a good idea to be contributing to either, you're laying out a lot of really good information about when you should contribute to either of these. This could be a whole nother episode. But what we're going to talk about here is now this is going to apply to folks that maybe have some in both, or they have all in traditional, and like, hey, I missed out on that window when I was younger and I wasn't making very much. I didn't put much into a Roth. Is it too late or to contribute? But this is where the Roth conversions come in. How we can use this tool to get you into a more advantaged tax situation for the rest of your life.
That is a great point. One particular that hits home with me, because I didn't know initially what a Roth account was. I just went into a tax-deferred account thinking that was the thing to do. And I know a lot of people actually do that. By default, just go to the tax-deferred account, even when they're in a low tax time in their life. So now they're thinking, is it too late? Can I do anything? Yes. So let's talk about a Roth conversion and what it is. At its core level, it is taking money that you have initially put into a tax-deferred account and deliberately moving it into a Roth account. You're going to pay taxes on the amount that you move into that Roth account in the year that you move that money.
Yeah, so just to sum that up, let's say you got money in traditional IRA and you want to move it to a Roth. You can do that any year you want, anytime you want. Let's say if you move $10,000 and you're in the 22% tax bracket, you're going to pay $2,200 federal tax on that conversion. But now you've got money from that traditional side of your IRA to that tax-free Roth, and it'll continue to grow and you get it tax-free when you're ready.
Yeah, and just to kind of go back to the whole point of, is it a good time to move it? If, Rob, you said 22% tax bracket here. We would do this because we're thinking that in the future, we might actually be in a higher tax bracket when we decide to move that or take that money out. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Yep. And we'll get more to those reasons later, but that's the general idea. It's the same idea as between Roth and traditional. It's like, what am I currently paying in taxes, right? So if you're in those lower tax years, that's one of the main reasons why people would do this.
Just a couple of things to note here is, again, this is going to be in the year. So the conversion, all the taxation, everything's going to be in the same year that you do it. Yep. And so you have to do this by December 31st. So if there is, let's just say you've got a low tax year in this year because somebody's deployed. If you wait till next year past January 1st, then that tax is actually going to be applied to 2026, not 2025. So we want to make sure we get all this done before December 31st.
Yep. You can't do a prior year thing in April. That's why this is part of the 3-part series we're doing here in November. Right. And then to add to that, just one more really important thing is that you could do an unlimited amount every year. If you have, you could do $500,000 in conversions in 1 year if you cared to. Just remember, it's going to move you into higher tax brackets. Be careful. We'll talk about that later, but there is no limit. It's not like contributions to an IRA. You can do as much as you want or as much as is efficient for you tax-wise in that year.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. A lot of people think that it's 2025. I only have $7,000 I can contribute. If I do this conversion, it's going to take up a part of that. Yeah. And that is incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah. You're good. Incorrect. You're good. You can convert as much as you want. All right. I'm going to break up the monotony here with the first tax fun fact of the day. I reached back in time a little bit for these. They're not so current. I mean, some of the other ones were older too, but these are all a little bit older. So the first tax fun fact is called Molasses Madness. The Molasses Act of 1733 slapped heavy duties on molasses, a key ingredient for rum. This wasn't just about sugar. It was about controlling trade and keeping colonists dependent on Britain. Spoiler, it didn't stop the rum trade. It just made it sneakier. America.
Does it ever
love it?
Does it ever stop the rum trade?
Look, you could cheat on your taxes and the benefit is money, right? Like you get more money back or you don't pay as much taxes. This is great because not only are you getting that money, but you're also getting the incentive of moonshine, which I love it. This is not tax advice. Disclaimer.
Nor is it moonshine advice.
Get a lawyer. This episode is brought to you by the Military Financial Advisors Association.
MFAA is a global network of independent, fee-only fiduciary financial advisors who specialize in serving military families.
And we're not just highlighting it. Omen and I are members ourselves, so we know firsthand what they stand for.
That's right. Every member of MFAA is either active duty, a veteran, or a military spouse, so they truly understand the unique financial challenges that come with military life.
Plus, every advisor must hold or be actively pursuing the CFP designation, which is the gold standard in financial planning.
So let's put that together. When you choose an advisor with MFAA, you are getting a professional who won't sell you a product, who knows the military life, and will plan using your hard-earned military benefits.
Whether you're navigating a step out of the military after 4 years, a military retirement, or a transition into a work-optional lifestyle, MFAA advisors speak your language.
Visit militaryfinancialadvisors.org to find an advisor who fits your mission.
MFAA, real advice, real experience.
This advertisement is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. All investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Information and opinions provided within the Fiscal Foxhole do not necessarily reflect official positions or opinions of the Military Financial Advisors Association or its members. Consult a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions.
All right, so moving on. All right, so we broke it down what a Roth conversion is, but there's certain times we talked about the tax, like low tax years, but there's other items to think about of when you should consider doing this.
Yeah, Rob, we did already talk about this a little bit. Some times to look at when to do a Roth conversion that makes sense. When you are first starting off in your career, you're not making a whole lot of income. By the time you get to your 40s and 50s, you are making a lot of income. Mm-hmm. So on that sliding scale, like Roth towards the left-hand side, maybe not towards the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. But for this military audience, combat deployments to a tax-free zone are key markers in a career where you might want to specifically look at doing a Roth conversion in that specific year that you're deployed.
Well said. There's some warnings coming up about that we have in the next segment, so stay tuned, because I know a lot of our listeners are going to probably end up in this situation where they have those low tax years. You got to be careful because there's some warnings. We'll get to that in a moment. There are other years too that are beneficial, and this is for everybody, not just for military, but there typically is kind of a valley right after that initial retirement, let's say, before you hit RMD. So it's like this window from maybe 60-ish to 73, where income is necessarily lower because we're taking distributions, maybe our lifestyle isn't as expensive. So you might have some wiggle room to make these Roth conversions to avoid higher RMDs, pushing you into higher tax brackets in your later years. You can start to attack those conversions in that retirement valley.
I do want to point out, because I think people miss this about RMDs. When you just put money into a tax deferred account and it just goes and goes and mm-hmm. goes and goes, and think, I just don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough. And they just keep piling it in. And then suddenly they're shocked when they turn 73 or 75 years old and they have all of this required income that has to come back to you on top of your pension, on top of your Social Security. And mm-hmm. suddenly you're in a massively, huge tax implications there. So I think it's important to just point that out because you did point that out.
Yeah.
About the other end of the valley after retirement.
Yeah, it's a fat cash flow situation. It might feel good, but yeah, all of a sudden you're in a tax bracket you've never been in before because you've been frugal and saving your whole life, and you've been in the 22, 24, and now like RMD's hitting, you're over 30 that you're paying taxes on. Sure, you're still getting income, and it's like, well, okay, you're living kind of fat, but like if you've done these Roth conversions, you can still get that same amount of income, but pay a lot less on taxes.
Rob, there's another gotcha here as well, and that is for when one of two spouses passes away, and now all of a sudden that spouse has the RMDs of both themselves and whatever they inherited from their spouse, and they are now in a filing single tax bracket, which makes their taxes increase significantly. It's called the widow's tax. Not something fun that anybody wants to deal with. So by doing these conversions earlier in your lifetime, you can help try to avoid some of getting into that situation.
Yeah, that's great advice. Don't survive your partner. Make sure you die before your spouse. That's what Omen's saying here. That's at the heart of this. I like it. That's great advice. By the way, it's not all numbers either. That's all. Everything we just said is about numbers, and we're financial planners. That's where we live. That's great. But there's also, you could do this just to create a tax-free legacy for your heirs. You might have so much money you're not going to spend it all by the time you pass away. And so therefore it's like, well, then why am I throwing money into a Roth just to save on taxes that I'm never going to pay? Sometimes people will do this even when they're earning high incomes. They'll do Roth conversions to try to get more money set aside into a Roth account, because when they, give that to their heirs when they pass away, the heirs receive it in the same tax-free format of a Roth, as you mentioned earlier. So it's almost like paying a higher price now, but just kind of paying the taxes ahead of time for all of your heirs, sort of as a gift.
You want to pay the taxes for your heirs?
No.
Like you are a heart of gold.
Yeah, good for you.
Absolute heart of gold. All right, so we've given you some timelines. We've told you what Roth conversions actually are, some reasons why you might want to do them. So let's kind of dig into this last bit here about factors to evaluate whether or not you should do a Roth conversion. This first part we already mentioned, and that is evaluating where your current marginal tax rate is versus what it could be in the future. So Rob, I don't know about you, but my crystal ball seems to never work. I don't know why I can't project out my tax rates in the future.
Yeah, best you can do is just projecting based on what you know today, and that's it. Because a lot of things will change, but you don't know which way it'll change. It could go up, it could go down. A lot of the benefits of doing this is to eliminate that worry altogether. So it's not about like, oh, I might be in a higher tax bracket, because you don't really know. A lot of it is like, I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to slam away this 20, 30, whatever I convert this year. And now I won't have to worry about paying taxes on that. If it's higher or lower, I don't have to worry about it at all.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Just pay the taxes on it now, be done with it, move on with your life. The next factor to evaluate whether or not you should do a Roth conversion is really to make sure that you have the cash to pay for the Roth conversion.
Wake up. This is important. This is if you're driving and you're like zoned out, people are like wah 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 this whole time, do not miss this point.
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier on that when you do a Roth conversion, you are choosing to pay the taxes on that conversion in this year, which means that you're going to have a tax liability. You said, $10,000 and then 22%, you're going to have to pay $2,200 on that conversion. That means you have to have $2,200 somewhere to pay for those taxes somewhere. And it can't come from the Roth conversion.
Well,
why?
It can.
It could.
It's not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, because if it comes out of the Roth conversion, then you've got like $2,200 that is going to go to the IRS. Well, that's also a distribution. And if you're before age 59 and a half, this is not a qualifying event to remove money from your IRA. So guess what? You're also going to get taxed and penalized on that $2,200. This is no bueno. So especially if you're below 59 and a half, make sure you have liquid assets set aside. And for some reason, if your custodian offers you to withhold taxes from the convert, do not allow it. I doubt.
Do not do it.
Yeah, I doubt anyone really would offer that if you're with a reputable custodian. Maybe they'll offer.
I've seen it.
You've seen it offered or like done?
I've seen it. Yep.
Yeah.
On a major custodian, I've seen it.
God. Well, maybe I imagine, hopefully, though, they would have just like, hey, this is not common, or advise you against it. Anyway, doesn't matter. If they do offer it, this is not for you. You need to take it from your savings account, brokerage account, taxable account, pay the taxes out of pocket, for lack of a better term.
The recommendation does not change even if you try to do this while you're deployed or anything else like that. You're still going to have to pay the taxes on this conversion and not from the conversion itself. So hopefully you've got some cash stashed away in a high yield savings account or a brokerage account that you can use to then pay the taxes on the back end of this conversion.
Yeah. You could adjust your withholding and try to do it that way too, or just have it out of pocket. Mind safe harbor guidelines we talked about last episode. So if you do a massive conversion and you're like, oh, I've got the money in my savings account, I'll just pay it when it's due. Well, you might violate safe harbor guidelines. So make sure you might have to make a quarterly tax payment. You might have to do all this, this kind of can get complicated. Reach out. We can help. We can, obviously reach out to a pro. The other thing is, I don't know how they're going to do this with the TSP, but conversions are happening within TSP effective next year. It was supposed to be this year, but it's going to be next year. To be determined on how that's going to be handled, but it's the same problem. So hopefully maybe TSP talks to, DFAS, and you're able to kind of work that converted amount into your withholding from your paycheck. I don't know how that's going to happen, but it is the same problem. Once again, IRA, TSP, your 401k, Roth conversions, you could do them in there too. Whatever it is, you've got this problem. You have to pay the taxes out of pocket.
And don't forget that out of all of these conversions, you're not going to get a 1099 until the end of the year. So you do have to kind of plan ahead. And Rob, I like what you said there about if you know that you're not going to meet your safe harbor ahead of time, you might need to make a quarterly tax payment before you get a 1099. The 1099 is just going to tell you what you already know. You made a distribution and you converted it into a Roth account. Yeah. So don't use that as an excuse not to pay your taxes when you need to pay your taxes.
Good. I think we've sufficiently scared everyone. That's good.
Probably.
Yeah. A couple other small things here. Don't skip. Don't mind the state taxes, especially in different states that tax a lot more. A lot of times, don't let the tail wag the dog here. It's the biggest chunk's going to be federal, but if you live in a high income state taxes do apply. And then there are other things like Medicare premium thresholds, other income based thresholds that might affect other things. So if you're close on one of those things, then this is going to take your AGI up and might disqualify you from some benefits or credits you would have otherwise been eligible for.
I think a good way for people to think about a Roth conversion is it's income. Just count it as income because it is, right? It's counted as income. And so you have to keep all of these various, the state is going to want part of their income taxed. Same thing with all these credits and everything. It's more income going towards whether or not you are eligible for these credits.
Yeah. Before I get to the next tax fun fact, which is here next, just real quick, that last part, I don't want to scare people from doing this because, if you miss out on a tax credit, most tax credits, they phase out. So like if you do a $10,000 conversion, right, the tax savings over your lifetime are significant. So if you do this and you don't mind that threshold and you end up losing out on a little bit of a credit, you're gonna pay a lot less in taxes over your lifetime. So don't kick yourself too hard. You're probably still way better off moving into a Roth.
Well said.
Next tax fun fact is about paper. All right, paper got complicated is the name of the fact that Townshend, I don't know how to pronounce this. Townsend with an Townshend. I speak English. This is why I'm a math guy, right? The Townshend Act of 1767 taxed 63 different types of paper, each with its own rate. Imagine needing a tax chart just to buy stationery. Bureaucracy was alive and well in the 18th century. This just kind of highlights that how taxes are levied and applied. It just gets so complicated, right? And nothing has changed from back then to today when they're trying to fix little problems. Talk about the or the 50-year mortgage or something. We're trying to fix this individual thing. It can get so complicated, and nothing has changed back then. But I can't imagine that different types of stationery. That's nuts.
I can't imagine they had 63 different types of paper in 1767.
I know. Let's
move on.
This is a home stretch. We should hit the.
It is.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's go.
Partial conversions. So let's say you've got a huge tax deferred account, a couple $100,000 set aside in a tax deferred account. And if you converted that entire amount, it could push you into the 32, 35, 37% tax bracket range. Is that something you really want to do? Probably not, right? You want to aim for an actual bracket of the 22, 24, maybe 32% if that's something you want to do. But so really these partial conversions is a plan to do year over year conversions to fill up a particular bracket that you're aiming for until you're depleted, until you just can't do it anymore.
Yes, that's right. So whatever tax bracket you're in, if you're in the 22, then just go in and look and see, hey, how much more income can I get until I bust into the next tax bracket? It's a good idea to aim for that amount, whatever that is. If it's $24,000 or $52,000, whatever, that might be your starting point. We're speaking tax planner ease right now, because it's how we plan for years to come into the future. So what our clients' plans look like, you can see this as it plays out over the next 40 years. But you can do that. Go ahead and do that by all means. Otherwise, we're out of a job. But when you decide to do this every year, decide on the year itself. So yeah, sure, do whatever strategy for the long term. But let's just make something that's palatable for ourselves right now. Some of my clients, as we're doing our tax planning, we've seen that they've over withheld, or with the new O-Trip-B, as we've coined a few episodes ago, their tax liability is a lot lower than they expected. So they have a ton of withholding and they're going to get a massive refund. This might be a good opportunity. So instead of filling up the tax bracket, we're actually going to go ahead and fill up whatever they've got here, what they've already withheld. So they're not coming out of pocket to pay taxes. They've already paid taxes. So that's another strategy. That's a great one. Just looking at it like year to year is a better strategy. Sure, look long-term, but just understand how it affects you this year.
Yeah, no, that's a great strategy. I've got several folks I've worked with as well that have over withheld that actually, because the money's already gone, and they would get that money back in a huge paycheck, but they haven't missed it so far. So let's go ahead and use it to do a Roth conversion.
Yep.
Let's see if we can connect this back to our previous episode on, Rob, can you help me out with this? Tax what harvesting?
Loss? Is that right?
Are you sure it's loss?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Tax loss.
Okay.
What did I say?
I'm pretty sure, because you gave me a hard time about withholdings. I'm pretty sure if you go back and listen to that episode, you were referring quite often to tax loss harvesting.
Did I really? No.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Oh, I'm fired. I'm so fired.
All right.
Hey, just my punishment. Then you get the next 3 episodes all to yourself. How about that? I'll take my punishment. Good luck. Let me know how that goes.
And we're done.
All right, so tax loss, losing harvesting is one strategy.
Losing the harvesting.
Yeah, go back.
Losing the harvesting.
Go back and listen to the last episode. We talk about tax loss, and I'm 100% sure I said it right, but I can't wait to listen to it. Anyway, yeah, this is one of the strategies you could use in conjunction. They don't really, I guess it's not like intended to use it, but you could, sure.
Yeah, it's not, hugely significant, but think about it, right? If you have up to a $3,000 loss that you can harvest, you can offset your income. And so if a Roth conversion is considered income, you are now using your tax loss to offset your Roth conversion up to $3,000.
Sure. Yep, absolutely.
So that's a way that you could actually tie this together.
Mm-hmm. Another one, since you brought up tax loss harvesting, what do we do when is it withholding? Withholdings.
Withholdings.
It's like, yeah.
Jerk.
By the way, I love how scientists, when they talk about data, they do it in such a way to show off that they know that data is the plural of data. Do you know what I'm talking about? It drives me crazy because they're just saying it to show that they know. You know what I mean? It drives me nuts. Anyway, so withholding. You can adjust your withholding or estimated taxes, which we already talked about, which is a strategy, especially if you're in a combat zone or you're in that safe harbor violation window. So you might have to adjust your withholdings or estimated taxes to cover whatever your liability is for the conversion.
This would take a pretty significant amount. If you're going to adjust withholdings, I think this would take a pretty good amount of pre-planning to know that you are going to do the Roth conversion for a certain amount that would actually require you to adjust a withholding from some other source of income to pay for that Roth conversion. So it might get a little bit complicated there. I personally just like the estimated tax payment method. Just pay the taxes beforehand and be done with it.
Good point. I like that. Yeah.
All right. Moving to in-plan Roth conversions, Rob, you mentioned TSP in 2026. We don't know when in 2026. By the way, it could be January 1st. It also could be December 1st. We don't know
done quick.
when you we don't know when you're actually going to be able to do Roth conversions in the TSP. And there's a lot of other things that we don't know. Rob, you'd already mentioned, but actually, you know what? Hang on. Let's back up just a little bit and clarify what we mean by in-plan Roth conversions, because an IRA is a little bit different, right? I mean, it's two separate. You've got your tax-deferred IRA, you've got your Roth IRA, and you're moving money from your tax-deferred IRA to your Roth IRA. Within the TSP, you also have a traditional account and you have your Roth account. And this isn't just TSP specific. This could be your workplace 401k as well, if they allow it. Not every plan has this. Clearly, the TSP has not had the ability to convert within the plan itself. Typically, you've had to wait to move that money into an IRA and then do your Roth conversions in, that way. But now in 2026, somewhere in here, we're going to be able to do some conversions from your traditional TSP to your Roth TSP. But like you said earlier, we have no idea how we're going to pay for this.
Correct.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go into that at all? Do you want to participate?
No, I think you're doing a great job. Why would I interrupt here? But yeah, there's a lot of murkiness to this, as you've kind of alluded to. We talked about, we don't know how withholdings would be taken for an in-plan conversion for the TSP. So we still a lot of unknown. The other unknowns is what exactly will qualify for a conversion. We do know that, the tax deferred traditional TSP and that growth will be eligible to a Roth. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. So obviously that will be eligible for a Roth conversion. But what about, the tax exempt deferrals, that you made in, tax-free combat zones? Like, are we converting that? How will it be conferred? The contributions are already tax-free, right? So would the growth be converted? Would it be pro rata, a mix of the two? How would that be treated? The growth on the deferrals, obviously, yeah, that should, because that's going to be like treated as a traditional IRA or traditional TSP. So yeah, you should likely be able to convert those to a Roth. If you're in the blended retirement system and you're contributing to the Roth, the government's still going to go to the traditional side. So it doesn't really make sense that you would not be able to roll that into a Roth or convert that to a Roth. But I don't know, there might be some rule where it has to remain in traditional. Not sure yet. And then, of course, the pro rata rollover. If you have some sort of after-tax contribution, like we mentioned before, like, in the combat zone, and how that's all mixed together and how that's treated when you're moving chunks over, the TSP might say, hey, that's after tax. That's good. This was pre-tax. So we're just moving that over, but it's not going to cost you anything. A lot of unknowns. How this is going to happen.
Yeah. And I think too about the funds that you're in. I mean, if you're in a life cycle fund, or if you're in some kind of mix of your own on the core funds of CSI, F, and G, like, how does that look when it rolls across? Does it have to come out of cash? And, there's so many things that we just don't know about this yet. We're all looking forward to on the financial planning side for sure.
Yeah, we're hatching another episode for next year for sure. This is going to be one. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, we're almost to the end, guys. You're getting a break here. Another fun tax fact. And this one, I love this one. Estate tax for the Navy, 1797 to 1802. This is good. Yes. Yeah, hopefully we won't go off on a little rant here, but this is really interesting. Before the Civil War, the U.S. briefly had an estate tax, otherwise known as death tax, is the term we kind of use today, starting in 1797, designed to fund the Navy. It's always the Navy. It's so expensive with their ships and their planes.
Ships.
It was repealed in 1802, but later revived during wartime. So if you died wealthy in the early republic, your fortune might have helped build battleships. It's really fascinating. The way they did this, by the way, it wasn't like they do it now where you have an estate tax if you die very wealthy. You have to pay the estate tax on anything over that amount. They did this by requiring federal stamps on all wills, inventories, and other documents related to property transferred at death. So it basically was like all of the required evidence that existed for you to be able to transfer wealth. They just went ahead and taxed that just to catch it right there in the bottleneck of transfer of wealth. They taxed the actual documents. So I thought it was kind of interesting. But yeah, can I save the rant about double taxation with death and estate taxes for another time.
Yeah, we'll save that. I am actually pretty interested in the fact that they could tax enough on stamps, documents, and like the actual products themselves to build chips. Like, that's insane.
That's a good point. Yeah. There's a joke there somewhere about the Navy, but I don't know where it is.
All right. Last bit here, your action steps. There's really only 2 action steps to be aware of when you do these Roth conversions. First, before you convert, know what the tax consequences are. Again, don't make a guess at this. Walk into this decision deliberately and informed about what those tax consequences are going to be, because again, as we already mentioned a couple of different times, you still have to pay for those taxes with cash from outside. Unless you're doing this out beyond 59.5, you're going to have to figure out where that cash is going to come from to pay for the taxes, plus all of the other ripple effects of the conversion that we already spoke about. So don't do this blindly. Plan this out and know what the tax consequences are.
The other one, if you have a tax preparer or a tax pro or a planner, like Omen or me helping you out, you might not have to worry about this, but you do need to track these things. It's called Form 8606 for your and the tax return. This is normally used to track basis in an IRA. So if you're doing conversions and you have some basis in a traditional IRA, which isn't very common, but it can happen for those making after-tax contributions to an IRA, the Form 8606 is where you track your basis, because when you convert, you're not just converting the pre-tax parts, you're converting a pro rata amount of after-tax and pre-tax. So you have to convert a proportionate amount of both. 8606 is where you track it. Even if you don't have any basis, it goes on the 8606, you report the conversion there, and you just happen to show like, hey, I don't have any basis, I didn't before, and I won't after this. So this entire amount is taxable.
Even if you're using some tax software that should walk you through this process, and it should flow through to a Form 8606 anyway. But I think ultimately what you should take away from this, keep a record. Mm-hmm. Don't rely on the custodian to keep a record for you. They will have a record, but I've heard of many lost records. So keep a record of these transactions in an Excel sheet somewhere, or whatever it is that you do, but keep a record of it.
Yeah, funny. The custodian that we both use, I just found out recently with a client last year that was rolled over an IRA that had some basis. We rolled it in, and I was contacting them, our custodian, to try to report the cost basis, and they were shrugging their shoulders. They're like, hey, that's your job to keep track on the 8606. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So custodian's not their job. You got to track it on your tax return.
Womp.
Did we do it?
Yeah. We have concluded 3 episodes all on taxes. And I think we generated about 9 more episodes worth of ideas.
And 10 more worth of questions. Like, hey, that was great. Can you say that part one more time? I wasn't listening.
Yeah, just one more. Yeah, so as we wrap up our last episode here on taxes for now anyway, we're getting into our trivia segment. This is our never-ending trivia challenge between the two of us for simply the prize of pride. Our current score right now is, Rob, I think you're pretty comfortable at your 0 score. You're actually actively trying to remain at 0.
Love it. Yep.
And then you had to break out the winner's music for me last time, right?
Winner, come on.
I will have you know that while I was sitting in the vet's office a little bit earlier today with my dog, I already chose the answer in my head before you're going to ask this question, just to see if it would work.
Right,
That's
enough.
How ridiculous this challenge has gotten.
I love it. You probably have just as good a chance. So if you're done gloating about the score, by the way, can I ask the darn question?
Go for it.
Right. Your question for today actually begins with a little bit of a history lesson about mortgages, taking it back to the 50-year bit we talked about earlier. So around 5th century BCE, under King, again, I can't read, Artaxerxes, Artaxerxes, you're welcome, of Persia, contracted land for debt in the form of mortgages. A little bit later, the Romans refined this idea with 3 systems they called fiducia, which is the borrower gave up ownership and possession until the debt was to be paid. Pignus, Pignus, again, I'm slaughtering this.
This is an unfair question.
Yeah.
You can't even pronounce the question.
All right, so the pignose, where the borrower kept ownership but lost possession, and then hypotheca, where the borrower kept both ownership and possession while repaying debt, which is the closest to what we have to modern mortgages. Skipping a lot of history here. You're welcome. I'm going to arrive into the United States.
Question here somewhere?
Yeah, the 1700s. Where the first real mortgage in the United States appeared after the Bank of North America opened in 1782. These loans were not short in nature, often including balloon payments after 3 to 5 years. And in addition, there was a required down payment. Your question finally, Omen. What percentage down payment was required to secure a mortgage in the United States in 1782? Is it A, 50%, B, 60%, C, 70%, or D, 75%?
D. That is the answer that I came up with in the vet's office earlier today. D.
D, you're going with D, 75%. You really think there was a 75% down payment required to secure a mortgage? That's nuts. I can't believe you're so wrong.
What were the answers?
No, that's it. You're sticking to it. You can't do this.
You took it.
All right, 75%. It is wrong. No, the answer is actually 50%. And it was interesting, going back to our earlier part about the 50-year mortgage. Yeah, the 3 to 5 year kind of guaranteed that home prices had to stay low or relative to people's income so they could afford it over 3 to 5 years. But yeah, including a 50% down payment. Isn't that something?
I mean, we talk about the 20% down payment to avoid PMI. And people struggle with that. So I can't imagine a 50%.
Yeah. High hurdle back then.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Finally, I appreciate Rob getting through that question, eventually getting through that question. We appreciate you being here for the Fiscal Foxhole. And as always, we hope that you have taken something useful away that you can use in your own life and finances. We, of course, love hanging out with you in the financial trenches. If you enjoy the show, we'd love it if you'd write a review. We appreciate somebody else who wrote a review recently. And better yet, we'd love it if you would share it with all of your friends. So, Rob, as we wrap this up, what are our key takeaways?
All right, thanks, Omen. Practical takeaways for today. Number one, a 50-year mortgage might make monthly payments smaller, but it's a long-term trap, trading short-term affordability for a lifelong debt. It could ease the quote, can I buy now anxiety, but ultimately slow wealth building and inflate prices further, just like kicking the can down the road. Number two, choosing between Roth and tax deferred savings isn't about right or wrong. It's about estimating your effective tax rate now versus later. If you're saving at all, you're already winning. The key is to match the strategy to when your taxes are likely lowest in your early career, transition years, or early retirement. And number three, Roth conversions are often not a one-time move, but an ongoing strategy that works best in low-income or low-tax years, using smart bracket management to stay efficient. Always plan for tax impacts, timing, and detailed record keeping, and get professional help if you need it.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions you'd like answered on the show, please send us a note to fiscalfoxhole@gmail.com. If you heard something today that you'd like to discuss further, or you just want to dig deeper into your own financial game plan, both Rob and Omen are accepting new clients and always happy to chat. You'll find the links to their websites or to book appointments in the show notes. Rob Moore and Omen Quelvog are both registered investment advisor representatives. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While they are both advisors, they are not your advisors. Therefore, nothing you hear on Fiscal Foxhole should be taken as specific investment, legal, or tax advice. For guidance tailored to your situation, please consult a qualified professional who understands your individual circumstances.
So, Rob, we're here in off duty, and I have to tell you, I did the run this morning from the vet's office with the dog, who I can see over here laying on the carpet, maybe whining a little bit miserably, but I would be whining too with the amount of stitches I see on this guy's leg. So,
Man, poor guy. What happened?
We found a lump probably about a month ago or so. And it just so happened that we were also having a tooth extracted because he broke a tooth.
Oh my God.
And so they checked the lump when he had the tooth extraction and found out that it was cancerous. So fortunately, they did not find any other cancer anywhere else, but they did take the mass off today. So I think we're going to be in for it for the next few days as he tries to work his way through this.
What size cone did they put on an 80-pound pit bull?
I mean, it wasn't a huge cone, but we actually took it right off because I can't stand those cones. I mean, he hits everything, every wall, every door, everything. We do have, man, I wish we had a website for this podcast, but we do have what's called a no flap ear wrap. Have you ever heard of these?
No.
Yeah. So this thing's amazing. So if we've actually now had 2 dogs where their ears, the tips of their ears opened up and they bled. And so whenever they'd shake in the house, you just have blood right up your walls. I mean, it looked like somebody was murdered in our house. And so we found these things called no flap ear wraps that, I mean, it's a lot of Velcro, but basically it wraps around their entire head and they can shake and shake and shake as much as they want and their ears don't move. I mean, these things are awesome.
Does he wear this all the time?
So I put this on. He only wore it while his ears were bleeding and then healing. He doesn't wear it anymore except for today because I took the cone off and I put this on because he can't turn his head to try to lick the wound with this thing on. So that's the alternative. We'll see how it goes.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Dog problems.
Yeah. Speaking of dogs, we remember how many episodes we talked about Lily, the Great Dane that my wife surprised our family with.
Small horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. So I just want to give you an update. I knew she was going to get big. That's no secret. Obviously it's a Great Dane. It's going to get to 140 pounds. So when we got her about 5 weeks ago, she was 30 pounds, right? So she actually lost a couple right away because transition, whatever. Yeah, she's 5 months old. So 30 pounds, a little less than 30 pounds. That was 5 weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Dude, she's 65 pounds.
Bro.
Yes.
That's what my dog weighed today, is 65 pounds.
65 pounds. Unbelievable in 1 month. I mean, she eats a ton. And I don't know how that's going to, I mean, I think that's just because she's growing so rapidly. She sleeps all the time when she's just chilling. She plays a little bit and, she's not asleep all the time, but she definitely sleeps a lot. All this thing does is eat and grow. But I tell you what, people tell you that they're sweet dog. She is a sweet puppy, unbelievably sweet, good with other dogs, pretty resilient, house trained completely now. Thank God, because I don't want to get into it again, but geez, they are significant droppings from this thing. But yeah, 65 pounds and growing fast.
That is, I cannot wait to meet her. I know Megan will want to meet her as well.
Yeah, she's a sweet dog. When we come down to visit, we'll bring her along and they can play. Maybe I'll bring her down while, what's your dog's name?
Dobby.
While Dobby has the head wrap on and is wounded. So, he can't bowl her over.
Well, he is not good with other dogs, unfortunately, so I wouldn't recommend that in any case. So, it's just an unfortunate byproduct of adopting.
Yeah, but good for you though for doing that, adopting, and that's I say this all the time. Like we used to have cats and pets and stuff. Like these animals live better than like 99.9% of the cats and dogs that ever lived on the earth. So, but good for you for giving him a good life.